Having been thrashed 3-0 on their last overseas tour to Pakistan, you might have thought the West Indies would have taken great care with their build-up to a 5-test series in South Africa. Yet for some time there was considerable doubt whether the tour would go ahead at all. A pay dispute forced a series of hastily convened meetings at Heathrow Airport between the players and the board. And although an agreement was finally reached, the first test at Johannesburg was upon the West Indies before Brian Lara's men had a chance to take guard, so to speak. The eagerly anticipated confrontation between Clayton Lambert and Philo Wallace at the top of the order and South Africa's Donald and Pollock proved an anticlimax, both batsmen departing within 6 overs of the start.
The first defensive shot that Philo Wallace has played, and the stump flies out of the ground. West Indies 24 for 2.
Shaun Pollock claimed the key wicket, his third, when Lara edged onto his stumps, and it took a sensible partnership of 91 between Carl Hooper and Shivnarine Chanderpaul to put the innings back on track. Hooper at one stage cut loose with 4 glorious fours in 5 balls off Alan Donald, and all this despite the inconvenience of a strained groin. Chanderpaul's innings was more of an occupation, but he still hit 10 fours in his 74.
Way through mid-wicket, and I think he's timed it well enough for it to go to the boundary, indeed.
Oh, well, he'll get 4 runs, and that is bad luck for Alan Donald.
Nevertheless, Donald was the undoing of both men, finding Hooper's edge and then trapping Chanderpaul in front.
Donald makes the breakthrough.
LBW must be fine delivery there from Alan Donald. An inspired bowling change from Hansie Cronje.
A promising debut performance from David ter Brugge was rewarded with the wicket of Stuart Williams, who was only playing because Jimmy Adams had badly cut his hand on the flight over and he'd been sent home. Pollock took his wicket tally to 5 with the scalps of Nixon, McLean and Kirtley Ambrose on the second morning, although he also had 3 dropped return catches to rue. Still, Hansie Cronje would have been pleased to have kept the West Indies to 261, having lost the toss on a good pitch. And although Adam Backer went for 1, a good partnership between Gary Kirsten and Jacques Kallis took South Africa past the 100.
And that'll bring Jacques Kallis 4 runs and take him to within 3 of a half century.
However, the second day's headlines belonged to Courtney Walsh. The tireless 36-year-old took 4 for 48. Adding the wickets of Kallis, Cullinan and later Pollock to that of Backer, and in doing so became the leading test wicket taker for the West Indies, surpassing Malcolm Marshall's haul of 376. Although Cronje was an early casualty on the third morning for a patient 41, and Ridley Jacobs continued his good debut with a diving catch off Donald, South Africa was still able to claim a first innings lead of 7, thanks to a last-wicket partnership of 25 between Pat Simcox and ter Brugge.
Yeah, in fact, we'll get 4. He's got that one away. And 4. Well.
After a thunderstorm curtailed play on the third afternoon, South Africa moved into a strong position on the 4th morning. The plaudits again went to Pollock, who became the 4th quickest man to complete the double of 1,000 runs and 100 wickets in Test cricket. Lara's wicket, LBW to Donald for just 7, gave the bowlers added confidence, and the morning session saw 5 top-order wickets fall with only 80 on the board.
Oh, he goes.
Oh, he's caught.
Williams fell to ter Brugge again, and an uncharacteristically stodgy innings from Lambert was terminated by the wily Simcox.
That's well bowled. And what's the decision? Oh, he doesn't have to give one. He's off and gone. I say it was well bowled, it was very well caught.
Jacobs and Hooper responded to the crisis with a partnership of 68. Hooper coming in at 7 with a runner after missing the whole South African innings with his injury.
There it goes. There is a man at deep mid-wicket, but there isn't a man at long on. Driven hard through the covers, 4. Magnificent stroke.
But just when it looked like these two had negotiated the afternoon session without loss, both men fell on the same score. Hooper LBW to Kallis and Jacobs skying Simcox to mid-on for 42.
Oh, rash shots, and he's got his man. was actually great cricket.
Pollock returned to clean up as the last 3 West Indian wickets fell on 170. The last one of Walsh bringing Pollock his milestone.
And that's it, I think. Yes, it is. He's got there. Great bowling from Pollock.
Chasing 164 on the last day was never going to be easy for South Africa, and no one is better at exploiting any nerves in a batting side than Walsh and Ambrose. After 10 overs, it was 14 for 2 and game on.
Walsh strikes to back up Ambrose.
Keen to banish memories of their epic defeat in Barbados in 1992, as well as the failed run chase in their last test at Headingley, a clear batting strategy was adopted. Callis dropped anchor at one end, whilst Darryl Cullinan and then Cronje chanced their arm at the other.
What a good shot. Very good shot. Another superb shot. It's quality batting, this. It really is. Pulled away by Cullinan and caught at the second attempt, which made it an even better catch.
A blinding catch by Stuart Williams stopped Cullinan in his tracks, and Cronje then had a let-off when Ambrose overstepped.
The no ball, but things are just not going West Indies' way at the moment. A good catch taken by Philo Wallace.
But the runs gradually came, cheered by a good last-day crowd, and despite the unpredictability of the wicket and some testing leg spin from Raul Lewis. Walsh caused a few extra flutters in the home dressing room when he dismissed Cronje with 40 runs still needed, but Callis grew in confidence and saw his side home for a tense 4-wicket victory.
That'll be 2 at least. And Jack Callis is 50, his second of the match.
Well, there'll be some debate as who should be man of the match. Sean Pollock, the likely recipient.
That's it. A run away.
It had been a closely contested test match dominated by the bowlers, and it was little surprise when Pollock was awarded the man of the match ahead of Callis for his 9 wickets at a cost of just 103.
South Africa have completed a very, very good win early in this 5-match test series.
When Herschel Gibbs' first innings back in the test side after a 10-month absence ended unluckily on the first morning at St George's Park, Port Elizabeth, the South Africans would have anticipated a tricky defence of their 1-0 series lead. In fact, batting was hard work for both sides throughout the match, and only one player, Jonty Rhodes, passed 50 in 4 innings. Merv Dillon celebrated his recall by removing Darryl Cullinan's leg stump, and all 4 West Indian seamers were in the wickets.
Wow. Mervyn Dillon strikes, full delivery. Cullinan beaten for pace, if anything else, and the leg stump, I think, split in 2.
Caught. Jonty Rhodes has gone, caught in the slips, and South Africa lose an early wicket after the luncheon break. Ooh, he's edged that away and is caught.
A great piece of fielding by another Test novice, Floyd Reefer, accounted for the captain Cronje. And at 142 for 7, South Africa's lower order was exposed.
You don't need to have a look at that more than once.
But a dogged 9th wicket partnership of 66 between the experienced pair of Alan Donald and Pat Simcox kept the tourists in the field till the second morning, and it gave South Africa a respectable total of 245 to bowl at after being put in. It was to be comfortably the highest score of the match.
To the boundary, it does. And that brings up the 50 partnership.
Out, caught mid-off.
After losing Clayton Lambert to a mistimed drive at Sean Pollock without a run on the board, the promoted Stuart Williams took the fight to South Africa with a hook 6 off Donald and a flurry of offside drives. Williams was back to his favoured opening slot because Philo Wallace had gone down with flu on the eve of the match. But Donald then found Brian Lara's edge and Cullinan clung on to a sharp catch.
Is he caught? He is indeed. That's the one they wanted, the South Africans. Alan Donald once again has got Brian Lara. He's caught by Callis at slip.
Williams' breezy innings of 37 was ended by David Terbrugge for the 3rd time in succession, but the young redhead had an even greater triumph when Carl Hooper missed a drive and was bowled for 15.
West Indies, as they did in the first test match, have lost 2 vital wickets just before a break.
Pollock then joined in with the wickets of Chanderpaul and Reefer, while Ter Brugge hit the stumps for the 3rd time to dismiss Ridley Jacobs.
Out! Now that was a terrific delivery.
Nixon McLean responded to the adversity of 75 for 7 in extraordinary fashion, with 4 massive sixes off the seamers in a 12-ball innings of 31.
And that has gone out of St George's Park. Oh, he's hit that. And he's hit that into the stands. Good heavens, that is an enormous blow. Donald won't like that much.
Pollock then wrapped things up with his 4th and 5th wickets, giving him 14 for the series in only 3 innings.
Oh, clever bowling. Dillon is out.
Well, he's not going to have any time to use it because Curtly Ambrose has stepped away from his stumps again and had another swing, and his middle stump has been knocked out of the ground. And yet again, Shaun Pollock picks up 5 wickets. Another splendid bowling performance, and the West Indies are all out for 121.
The West Indies fought back well in the field despite facing a deficit of 124. And again, both Walsh and Ambrose were magnificent.
And Herschel Gibbs is gone.
Has he caught it? Gary Kirsten doesn't think so. Yes, he does. He's put his bat under his arm. And a vital blow for the West Indies as they get rid of Gary Kirsten just prior to the tea interval.
Oh, he's caught behind, I think. Yes, up goes the finger of umpire Dave Shepherd, and Jacques Cullis is out. Lovely bit of bowling by Curtly Ambrose.
3 wickets fell for 11, and when Cronje was run out for the 2nd time in the match, this time by Chanderpaul, the contest was almost level pegging. But the support bowlers lacked consistency, and Rhodes and Pollock embarked on the best partnership of the match, putting on 92 for the 6th wicket in good time.
It's gone for 6.
Ambrose had the satisfaction of claiming both on the 3rd morning, but the damage was done.
A little injudicious, I would suggest.
Bowled him. Well, that was not a very good shot at all from Jonty Rhodes. Right across the line, a wild swing at it.
And he's bowled him. Whoopsie, perfect Yorker. And the innings finally ended. Donald leaves an angry young man, I think.
So a target of 320 was posted, with more than 2.5 days remaining, but it never looked on. Lambert looked ill-equipped to cope with Donald, and the rejigged batting order offered little resistance. Jacobs coped for a while with his promotion to number 3 as Williams, through illness, and Lara, through lack of confidence, were dropped down the order. It wasn't long, however, before the breakthrough came from Cullis, and a spineless capitulation followed.
Forcing shot off the back foot. Only one, I think. Cronje on it now, turns and throws, and here's a mess up and a run out. Goodbye, Mr. Hooper. Well, that might be out. What a good catch. That's an outstanding catch from Jacques Cullis off the bowling of Pollock.
Oh, he's edged it, and he's caught. Straightforward, orthodox slip catch taken by Darryl Cullinan at first slip.
Donald had been struck on the head whilst batting, and as at Lord's against England, he seemed inspired.
Peel for LBW, up goes the finger. Pat Simcox will be relieved. The drop catch didn't matter.
Only when the cause was truly lost did Lara attempt anything beyond survival, but his assault on Donald provided great entertainment for the lively crowd.
It's 4. No one's going to cut that off. Nobody moved. That's fine. That'll be 4 more. So an expensive over.
3 fours came in one Donald over, and then a mighty 6 over square leg before the little maestro went for one pull too many.
And it's 6. Miscue, caught mid-on. Donald wins the battle in the end. Took some stick from Brian Lara. 4 fours I can think of, plus a 6. And then the miscue off the oil hole, caught mid-on.
Pollock then joined in, bowling Dillon, and put the seal on another man-of-the-match performance. The winning margin was 178 runs, and South Africa could look forward to a possible series victory in the 3rd Test at Durban.
He's given him out, that's it. South Africa have won a comprehensive victory. The West Indies have been dismissed for 141 in their second innings, having folded for 121 in their first. And it has been a massive and emphatic victory for the South African team, and I use the word team in its best sense, in that this has been a real team effort from the South Africans, and I'm afraid one can't say the same thing for the West Indies.
Kingsmead Durban was the setting for the crucial 3rd Test in the series, and it was a confident and unchanged South African side that took the field at the start. Still, having been sent into bat, the experimental opening partnership of Philo Wallace and Junior Murray showed good judgment against the new ball in overcast conditions. Murray was a surprise choice in the side, since he hadn't played in any of the first 7 matches on tour. Yet the familiar frailty of the top order resurfaced as soon as Wallace edged a drive at Jack Callis and was snaffled by Daryl Cullinan at first slip. Murray soon followed for 29, LBW to Ter Brugge, and then Shivnarine Chanderpaul became another Callis victim.
And out. 2 wickets for Callis.
Carl Hooper was also guilty of a loose shot at Callis.
Oh, he's edged it and caught.
And it was left to Brian Lara once again to salvage something from the innings.
Oh, he's got that away very fine for 4 runs. Beautifully glanced.
That's pulled away by Lara with a lot of power.
He certainly looked capable of making his mark on the game, with 8 fours and a 6 in compiling his first 50 of the series. But in trying to repeat his pull off Ter Brugge, Lara miscued to mid-on, where Hansie Cronje took the catch.
Pulled it away, but it's in the air. There's the loose stroke. Cronje under it.
New cap Darren Ganga lasted 94 balls for 28, but his dismissal to Sean Pollock sparked another collapse, this time to the unlikely figure of Cronje. Cronje saw his first ball pulled for 6 by wicketkeeper Ridley Jacobs, but the South African captain then claimed 3 wickets for 13 in 4 overs, ending the innings with Jacobs' wicket from an inside edge.
Straight to Daryl Cullinan.
Caught. Short extra cover placed in there for that.
Bernier continues from the Umgani end, his 5th over, and he ends it. Well, it's been a very nice little spell for the South African captain. He's ended up with 3.
2 performances stood out in the South African reply. Franklin Rose, playing his first test of the series, came into his own with 2 bursts of 3 wickets to end with test best figures of 7 for 84 from 28 overs.
Oh yes, he's edged it. A 3rd wicket for Rose. Callis, a reckless drive.
Rose also ran out Daryl Cullinan for good measure.
Magnificent shot by Daryl Cullinan. They're going to come back for the 2nd. He'll have to hurry here, and umpire Dave Orchard is going to ask the 3rd umpire to have a look at this one.
That's gone.
Yes, the bail's popping before the bat has reached the line.
The other hero of the innings was Jonty Rhodes, who made the highest individual score of the series so far, 87, and twice pulled the mighty Curtly Ambrose for 6.
He's got this one away as well. Clatters into the advertising boards.
Cronje and Pollock both chipped in with scores of 30, but it was Jonty who made the difference.
Mid-wicket, beautiful shot. I think it might just win the race to the boundary. It does.
Rose's 2nd blitz kept the West Indies alive in the match, reducing South Africa from 262 for 5 to 312 all out.
That is a magnificent catch by Carl Hooper. Magnificently bowled. Timber for Franklin Rose.
Oh, that's out. He's bowled him.
There was added disappointment for the home crowd when Rhodes offered a return catch to Walsh off the 10th ball of the third day. Rose completed the collapse with the wicket of Alan Donald to give him the best ever figures by a visiting player in a test at Kingsmead.
And 7 for Franklin Rose.
Wallace fell to Donald for just 1 as the West Indies made their reply, and Murray presented Herschel Gibbs with the first and easiest of 4 catches in the innings. Things looked bleak for the Windies at this stage, but for the first time in the series, the visitors then concocted a partnership of quality.
4 runs.
Chanderpaul was unsettled early on by some short stuff from Donald and Pollock, but Lara's dazzling stroke play kept the scoreboard ticking over.
Beautiful stroke. It's a good shot off the back foot this time through the covers.
It wasn't long before both men were in full flow, and the first innings' arrears were quickly wiped off.
Here's that cover drive again, but this time it's not from Brian Lara, it's from Chanderpaul.
Timed again, past mid-off. Cronje in pursuit, won't get there.
And Lara has played it beautifully to the deep cover boundary to bring him his half-century. Classic cover drive by Brian Lara.
Well, nobody moved. Over the top of the keeper for 4, frustration for Donald. And a wonderful delivery to end that over, 180 for 2.
Is he caught? Oh, he's brilliantly caught. Brian Lara has been superbly caught by Herschel Gibbs.
Gibbs' incredible catch turned the match on its head, and from that moment on, there was only one side in it. To this point, only 4 wickets had fallen to the big 4 of Donald, Pollock, Ambrose and Walsh, but Lara's dismissal seemed to spur on the South African pair.
Is he caught? Oh, I think he might be caught.
Mark Boucher's catch off Hooper looked to have touched the ground, although there was no complaint from the batsman, and the visitors' cause was further undone when Gibbs outdid his earlier effort with another spectacular flying catch.
Unbelievable catch. That's 2. What a fantastic catch. There aren't enough words to describe it.
Only a brief flurry of 22 from Rose prevented total embarrassment, and when Courtney Walsh became Donald's 3rd victim of the innings on the 4th morning, the West Indies had made 259 and Ridley Jacobs was left unbeaten on 15.
Another one well pitched up by Alan Donald. The South Africans not needing the new ball.
Chasing 146 to win the match and seal the series, Gary Kirsten and Gibbs made the start they needed against a weakened attack. Walsh's departure with a pulled hamstring left a gaping hole in the visitors' armoury.
That is really bad news for the West Indies. What more can go wrong? Down the wicket. Magnificent shot. Straight down the ground and over the advertising boards. A splendid 6 by Herschel Gibbs.
There were missed chances too, the mix-up between Jacobs and Ganga the most embarrassing.
In the air, 2 men converging. Oh, he's dropped it.
Gibbs went on 49 LBW to Hooper, but there was no more joy for Lara as Kirsten and Callis saw their team home with a 50 stand at a run a minute.
Got to the pitch. Pulled away, beautifully executed. Again, perfect balance and timing from Jacques Callis.
That's it. That's the series win. Gary Kirsten knows it. He's celebrating as if he'd just gone to 100.
This was the 6th successive loss for the West Indies in overseas test matches. And with Walsh injured, the omens weren't good for halting such a dismal run.
And how pleased the South African side is. There they all are celebrating to wrap up a series, a 5-match series within 3 games.
When Gary Kirsten nudged the first ball of the match into the welcoming gloves of wicketkeeper Ridley Jacobs to give Curtly Ambrose his 350th Test wicket, the West Indies might have anticipated an end to their South African nightmare. It was not to be. Brian Lara's team, already 3-0 down in the series, were to enjoy only one further success on a dispiriting first day to the 4th Test at Newlands. With Courtney Walsh and Franklin Rose missing through injury, a threadbare attack was shown up for its inexperience. Ambrose was the exception, conceding only 36 runs off the bat from 24 overs, but Jacques Kallis on his home ground and Darrell Cullinan piled mercilessly into the rest.
Another short one was the googly, and this is also put away for 4. Just back with a square.
Merv Dillon, Otis Gibson and Nixon McLean all bowled too short, and by the end of the day both batsmen had reached their centuries, the first on either side in the series.
That's a beautiful stroke. That really is a handsome shot. Pulled away this time with a lot of authority. There it is it? Yes, it is. Jacques Kallis celebrates his 3rd Test century.
Cullinan was the more fluent of the pair, and when his partner eventually edged behind for 110 after a stand of 235, Cullinan pressed on to his best Test score.
It's a great shot because it's a long boundary and it's a slow outfield.
Having struck 20 boundaries in 7 hours, Cullinan gave Jacobs his 4th catch of the innings. The score was 380 for 6, and although Ambrose had limped off, it was not long before Hansie Cronje brought the innings to a close on 406 for 8. It was to be the only total above 400 in the entire series. Immediately, Donald had the visitors in trouble, finding the edges of both openers, Murray and Wallace, before the big one, Lara, who was surprised by a short ball and stepped onto his stumps.
Oh, he's out! He's got him! He's jumped onto his stumps and Lara is gone.
When Chanderpaul was well caught by Jonty Rhodes, short extra, it was 34 for 4, and only Hooper remained to offer hope. With Donald joining Ambrose on the injured list, there was some relief for the middle order, and although he rode his luck at times, Hooper notched up an unflustered 50 before the end of the day from just 52 balls. The third morning saw Darren Ganger fooled by a Pollock slower ball, having ground out a patient 17, but there still looked to be a possibility for fight back until Hooper succumbed to one of those moments of madness that have dogged his career.
Short of the boundary, they've run 2, they're going for the 3rd. There might be a run-out chance here. The umpire will refer. Dave Orchard is out. Remember, the line belongs to the fielding side, and there's the red light, and Hooper has to go.
Jacobs, Gibson and McLean did enough between them to avoid the follow-on, and Kallis wrapped up the innings on 212, a lead of 194.
Outside edge. So the earlier drop in the over didn't cost anything.
When 3 wickets fell on the same score in the space of 6 balls, there was a sniff of a turnaround, Dillon and McLean coping well in Ambrose's absence.
Gary Kirsten is going to be caught. Heel for LBW, up goes the finger, and suddenly South Africa have had a little collapse here when all was looking so good in the Rose Garden.
But Kallis and Cronje restored the advantage with a partnership of 94, with the captain completing his first 50 of the series. Kallis plodded on after Cronje went, but couldn't increase his own tempo enough to reach a century. When the declaration came on the 4th afternoon, he was 88 not out, and South Africa led by 420. No Donald to shake up the top order this time, but he wasn't needed. Wallace continued his miserable run with a duck, and then Kallis, showing no signs of weariness, nipped in with the wickets of Murray and Chanderpaul, both to poor shots.
What a catch! What a spectacular take by Cullinan at slip.
To this point, Kallis had batted for 12 hours and bowled 18 overs, but he was not done yet, Hooper giving him his 3rd wicket of the innings. The last over of the day and the last chance went for the West Indies when Lara's 2.5-hour resistance ended with a caught and bowled to Adams, 87 for 6. A great run out from Rhodes and some lusty hitting from McLean held the interest on the last morning, and Ridley Jacobs confirmed his reputation as a batsman of durability with an unbeaten 69.
Well, he did very well to get that away. In fact, it will go for 4. Lost his footing and still had enough bat on it that it could go through mid-wicket for 4. No wonder there's a wry smile on the face of Sean Pollock.
Kallis plugged away manfully in pursuit of his first ever 5-wicket haul, but was frustrated by some extravagant drives from last man Dillon. Eventually Dillon missed time to mid-off and Callis had his reward. He'd become only the 8th player ever in Test to make 100, a 50 and take 5 wickets in an innings. 4-0 and off to Centurion.
And Sharp Callis joins a special band of Test cricketers. 5 wickets for him to go with his century in the first innings. His 88 in the second innings. And now 5 wickets in the second innings. Don't think there's too much doubt about the man of the match here.
The West Indies would have known not to get overexcited when Gary Kirsten again went in the first over in identical fashion, this time to a fit again Walsh. But this time there was no big partnership to hold them up, and despite having no Ambrose, who was still sidelined, they had South Africa on the rack for the first time in the series.
Oh, this is 2 noises. Yes, he's out. This has gone straight up in the air, and he's got a man underneath it, and he's gone. Caught at mid-on, and Jonty Rhodes will be furious with himself.
But the resilience of Callis once again proved the key, and he withstood the onslaught of Walsh and company. Callis batted 273 minutes for 83, his 3rd long innings in a row. But the biggest heartbreak for the West Indies was the innings of Mark Boucher.
Let's cut away, and will go to the boundary, and it will bring Boucher his 4th Test 50.
Coming in at 123 for 6, he was eventually 9th out for an even 100, his first in Tests, and the scoreboard was showing more than 300. He hit 16 fours all round the ground and set up South Africa for another strong assault on the West Indies top order. Ganga's promotion and Wallace's retention both looked poor decisions when Pollock and Donald had Lara at the crease in the 3rd over. Still, those failures were quickly overshadowed by a Lara blitz on Alan Donald, which had the big crowd captivated.
Well, Lara's gone after him now. This is a tremendous confrontation here. This is what the crowd has come in to see, a great fast bowler against a great batsman.
Lara's gone for that again, and it has gone for 4. Smash, 4 more.
Lara's 50 came up in only 38 balls with 12 fours, and the score raced past 100. But the duel was won by the big fast bowler, who produced a lifting delivery of the highest class.
Donald eventually is the victor. He worked for that wicket. Great bowling by a great fast bowler. And South Africa have made the breakthrough with the West Indies 102 for 3 and Brian Lara gone for 68.
This breakthrough seemed to inspire South Africa and demoralise the visitors. Lance Klusener took his first wickets of the series after his long injury layoff with typically aggressive deliveries, and the rest subsided. Donald completed his 17th 5-wicket haul as he ran through the tail, although he aggravated his hamstring injury in doing so.
King has lasted just 2 deliveries, and the West Indian slide continues.
If a whitewash had not been at the forefront of the West Indies' minds before the game, it surely was now at 144 all out. To make matters worse, Courtney Walsh, who had taken 6 wickets in the first innings, broke down in his 8th over. Without Walsh, the West Indies fell apart, and there were centuries for both Gary Kirsten, 134, and Rhodes, 103 not out. Kirsten was typically resolute in his approach and joined Hansie Cronje as the only South Africans to score Test hundreds against 5 different opponents.
4 runs, he raises his bat to the dressing room, a broad grin on his face.
Rhodes's knock was a complete contrast, including 6 sixes in his 95-ball innings.
And it's 6 more.
This is just as special.
There he's gone for another one, and it's sailing again. 2 men there.
His century came up with a pull-off hooper, and Cronje called his men in with a lead of 568 just before the close on the 3rd day.
Jonty Rhodes does it in the most magnificent way you could ever imagine. He leaves nobody in doubt whatsoever by hoisting it over the boundary again. Up goes the bat. They walk from the field immediately. They don't even wait for the skipper's signal. An absolutely exhilarating century from Jonty Rhodes, and his sixth.
With no hope of the win that might have cheered a weary squad at the end of a long series, the batting offered little fight. Paul Adams had his first real success of the series, claiming 4 wickets, including Lara LBW for 14 as he missed a sweep. Jacobs and McLean performed their familiar tail-end cameos, which bolstered the total, but the final ignominy was the sight of Darrell Cullinan picking up his first Test wicket as Dillon tried a reverse sweep.
Reverse sweeping, bowled. Told you to do it.
Well, that's the best bit of cricket I've seen today, that.
The final margin was 351 runs, and for the first time in their history, the West Indies had lost a series 5-0. With Australia looming large, the captaincy of Lara and the future of West Indies cricket in general was hanging precariously in the balance.
5-0 is a very big effort and a great one as far as